that Buddhism is about benefit for us, for our happiness, for our welfare. And why do the disciples of the Buddha go out and share? Is because of compassion for the world, because they have been in the same boat, the boat in samsara, the endless cycle of birth and death. And of course, this particular one is very important, the Ita Sutta, as to what is desirable, what we want in life, what we welcome in life. That is long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. And of course, many of us still want even more items, but these 5 are already difficult to obtain now. But the important message here in this Ita Sutta, the Buddha taught, is the Buddha does not teach that they are to be obtained through prayer, nor through wishing. Prayer as in asking some all-powerful deity, being, or energy, whatever you want to describe it, to grant us this. And the Buddha has further comments. If one could obtain them through prayer or through wishing, who would not obtain them? That means everybody in the world will never suffer, because all beings have been praying since Stone Age and maybe even before then. But if the Buddha said, do not pray, then what you should do? So he should rather follow a way of life that is conducive to long life, beauty, happiness, fame, and rebirth in heaven. Now, follow a way of life, it means we have to do something. We just don't go to the temple and burn chopsticks, burn a lot of paper and do sort of funny things, but follow a way of life. That means we have to do something for ourselves, our conduct, and so on. Now, if we want long life, other than listening to what the Buddha has to say, you must also listen to your dietitian, all those health experts. You must eat your green vegetables, eat your meat, exercise, and so on. So there are a lot of things that come into this aspect, not just the religious or spiritual aspect of it. And of course, follow a way of life. What is the formula? The formula to that is basically the path to happiness, the Noble Eightfold Path. As I keep on emphasizing, a path is something which you can look at, you have to step on it, you have to walk on it by yourself, not on somebody's behalf. You have to walk on it to reach somewhere. So this path brings us to a noble ending, nobility. It ennobles us. And there are 8 factors, not just 8 which we feel like I want to do number 2, or the next day I want to do number 4 or whatever, but it's 8-fold. That means all 8 come together to support each other. All 8 needs to be practiced. Although we emphasize on one particular one today, the other 7 will come in to support us. So we have to bear in mind all these aspects. The Buddha discovered underneath the Bodhi tree many natural laws, which our scientists and various other people are still trying to understand and discover and to try to know the implications, how it can bring us into the future. But the Buddha also discovered that our actions generate certain energies. And in this particular sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya book of 5, the Buddha says, I am the owner of my deeds or actions. So you are responsible for your actions and heir to my deeds. Heir means you inherit your deeds. Deeds are my womb. And this is very important. It determines in the next life, especially, where you are going to be born, what you have been born as, and so on. And then my relative, who will be your parents, who are your siblings, who are your uncles, aunties, and further afield. And my refuge. What is a refuge? Refuge is something that shades us, shields us of something we do not like. An umbrella shields us from the hot sun or from getting wet in the rains. Running into a shop or whatever during a heavy storm further shields us from very big storms where the umbrella may not be up to the job. So refuge is something that helps us and gives us comfort. Now in this case, my refuge, you're talking about spiritual refuge. When you want to do something, you want to earn a living, you have to go for refuge. Why? To a teacher to learn certain skills. It may be academic skills, it may be accounting skills, it may be vocational skills. But we have to go to a sifu, a teacher, or maybe not just one teacher, but many teachers of varying degrees of skills and techniques. Even being a carpenter also, there are different kinds of carpentry. So you have to go to different teachers to learn the different skills. All these teachers are refuges. They teach us, and then we learn the thing, we become competent, or shall we say experts. And other people who do not know anything about carpentry, people like you and me, might refer to them, refer to these experts who have learned these skills over the years and practice them to do something. So you need the ability to meet up with teachers to be able to teach us something, and that we can use these skills to protect ourselves. And in the terms of spiritual aspect, refuge also means spiritual refuge. We have to be able to meet up, have the opportunity to meet up with spiritual gurus, spiritual leaders who can guide us, give us ideas, explain to us. We have come across times whereby we read certain articles, we hear certain talks in the social media, YouTube and so on, that we listen to this person, we don't know what he's talking about. Now, the teacher as well as the student has to have similar mindset. The examples, like for instance, I am very cognizant of the fact that whatever the way in which I share the Dhamma may not be may not jive with the way you think. Okay, so for that, I'm a poor refuge or poor teacher as far as you are concerned, because you don't think in that fashion. But I think in another way. So the examples I use, the way I explain things, is not suitable for you. But for yet other people, they have similar mindset as the way I think. So when I present a certain subject that may jive with the way you think, and you can understand very quickly what I am talking about. So it varies. So refuges also has suitability and so on. All these karmic energies generated from your actions are able to bring to you certain suitable teachers that match your temperament, your way of thinking, your expertise, your experience in life, and so on. And towards the end of this quote, I shall be the heir of whatever deeds or actions I do, whether they are wholesome or unwholesome, whether good or bad. So you do good things, you inherit all the repercussions from those actions. If you hurt other people, you do bad things, then you also inherit, you bear the responsibility of the repercussions of those bad actions. Now, in this particular sutta, the Punya Kariya Vatu Sutta from the Iti Buddhaka, the Buddha says that encourage even the monks, let alone the lay people, that there are 3 grounds for making merit that yield long-lasting happiness. Merit yields long-lasting happiness. Long-lasting doesn't mean for the duration of this life only, but it goes beyond. And what are these? What they call deeds of merit? That of dana, sila, bhavana. Often we hear in Dhamma sharings. And what is dana? Dana is giving. Giving is not necessarily of food. It can be giving of money, giving your time, giving your skills, and so on, your talent, and so on. So that is giving. Sila, that is virtue or moral training. And bhavana, mental cultivation or development. So these are the 3 areas which generate a lot of merits. And of course, by cultivating these 3 deeds which yield happiness, the wise person is reborn in bliss. Okay, reborn in bliss. This means you not only make the balance of this life more comfortable because you've been performing a lot of merits, which generate energies which come back and affect your lives, provide opportunities and so on. But when you are reborn, these also open doors to more fortunate planes of existence. Now, in this morning sharing, I will touch a little bit on reborn in bliss. What do you mean by that? Where are they? Now, from this particular sutta, also from the Iti Buddhaka, the Buddha has something to say about dana or giving. If beings knew, as I know, the result of giving and sharing, they would not eat without having given, nor would they allow the stain of meanness or stinginess to obsess them and take root in their minds. This is very, very important. Now, this particular sutta, the Sapurisa Dana, Sapurisa meaning a person of integrity, a worthy person, but a worthy person or a person of integrity gives. Means how does a person of integrity give a gift? So this sutta is talking about how you give. There are many, many suttas on the aspect of dana, on giving. There are many, many suttas. There's no way in which even one whole Dhamma talk session that you present everything about dana or aspects of your dharma, how you give, what you give, when to give, who to give to, and so on, can cover all that the Buddha has shared. The Buddha taught for 45 years. In many, many of the Nikayas, the Buddha has shared this aspect. And this particular sutta is one of many. So the sutta says, these five are a person of integrity's gifts. Which five? A person of integrity gives a gift with a sense of conviction. This translator used the word conviction. What is conviction? In a Pali term, which some of us are familiar with, the word is called saddha. Some people use the word confidence. Some people prefer the translation called faith. Saddha means conviction, faith, or confidence. Now, saddha, then another aspect, give a gift attentively. Pay attention when you give something. In season means not any time you want, but in season. Due time to give. If it's the right time to give, then you give. If it's the time for meal time, then it's appropriate to serve food, not at other times, and so on. So with an emphatic heart, what does that mean? Basically, with no strings attached. That means there's no expectation that I give so that I can book a place in heaven. A lot of people give a gift this way. And another, number 5 is without adversely affecting himself or others. Now, this sounds a bit odd, but without adversely affecting. Now, how does it affect you? When you give a gift, some questions might arise. How did you obtain this gift? Okay, this gift could be some food you cook for, say, for a venerable. But in cooking that dish, you have killed a living being. You kill a living being so that you can cook, say, chicken curry. You kill a chicken, you have chicken curry to offer to the venerable. So without, you adversely affected somebody else. That's called the poor chicken died for your curry. Okay, or affecting yourself. You may have stolen something, and you affect yourself and as well as others. So whatever you do, however you do, to obtain those materials and to give a gift, you must obtain them, through your own efforts, but without hurting other living beings and so on. Okay, however. Now here, the Buddha further elaborates. Having given a gift with a sense of confidence or conviction or faith, he, wherever the result of that gift ripens, ripens, it means after you give a gift, you generate calming energies, and because you have generated those, made those energies, those calming energies, they have a way of boomerang back and cause things to happen in your life. Later portions of this life, it will be next life or whenever. So the gift, when the gift ripens, which means these energies ripen, they produce a result. This result is rich, with much wealth, with many possessions, and he is well built, handsome. So obviously, with regard to a guy, ladies will be pretty. Okay, extremely inspiring, endowed with a lotus-like complexion. I'm not too sure what does a lotus-like complexion is. I haven't seen anyone that looks like a lotus. Okay, maybe it's a figure of speech. Looks very beautiful. Lotus flowers are very nice, so it just probably means a very smooth, mild complexion. Having given a gift attentively, he, wherever the result of that gift ripens, is rich with much wealth, with many possessions, and his children, wives, slaves, servants, and workers listen carefully to him and lend him their ears and serve him with understanding hearts. So even those people who work for you, work with you, become very cooperative. They work with you and so on. There's no conflict. And we know all these kind of conflicts or harmony in the working environment. Not just working environment where you earn money, but even in the volunteer organization also, where other people are involved. Now, having given a gift in season, he, wherever the result of that gift ripens, is rich with much wealth, with many possessions, and his goals are fulfilled in season. His goals, what he aims to do, and so on, are fulfilled in season, in due course, and timely. Of course, timely is a matter of speculation. Some people want it now. We are the fast food culture, so we want everything now, now, now. I do something wholesome. I give a check to Nalanda for $1 billion to build whatever we want. So I expect the coming repercussions to be immediate. That one is a demand on your side. That means you have something that you want to happen with strings attached, which is coming to the next one. Having given a gift with an emphatic heart, that is with no strings attached, he, wherever the result of that gift ripens, is rich with much wealth, with many possessions, and his mind inclines to the enjoyment of the 5 strings of lavish sensuality. This is for ordinary people, that means not monastics. And what happens? The person who gives, offer food, what happens? Food comes back to you in due season. Okay, and when you see good food, you're able to enjoy. But some people, when they have given food, but during the giving or after giving, they regret having given the food. What happens? When food comes to them, because they give, but since they have regret having given the food later, what happens? The nice food appears in front of them, they don't enjoy it. They don't appreciate it. Whether it's cooked by their spouse or went to a restaurant or whatever, they pay a lot of money for it, but they don't enjoy it. They do not know how to do that. And it is because of their coming energies that affect their attitude towards food and the results of their earlier actions. So this is very important. So even you give, you get something back, but whether you appreciate it or not, that's an important aspect. And number 5, having given a gift without adversely affecting himself or others, he, wherever the result of the gift of that gift ripens, is rich with much wealth, with many possessions, and not from anywhere does destruction come to his property. Okay, whether from fire, from water, from kings, from thieves, or from hateful heirs. Hateful heirs means those people who have accumulated our wealth. Hateful heirs, heirs who inherits your wealth when you pass, or maybe sometimes before even you pass, people cannot wait for you to pass away. Those are your children, those people who inherit. So there are a lot of conniving close relatives also. Now, obviously, this is another form, or probably a more certain form of insurance policy, because your property is free from fire, water, from kings. Kings means government, from thieves, and from hateful heirs. Now, you notice that all 5 of things have something in common. They all start out with description of something. You have given a gift, the gift ripens, and you experience richness, much wealth, and many possessions. And then something else that is specific to what you did, whether you give in season, give with an emphatic heart, or give without adversely affecting yourself and others. But they all have this thing in common. There's richness, wealth, and possessions come back to you. So when you give in the proper manner, these things come back to you. And then more specifically to the individual aspect of the 5. Okay. Last time we met, I covered this particular sutta. Many Buddhists are very concerned when I want to generate merits, I must offer food, dana. And one of the reasons why I emphasize this particular sutta is because dana is not the only activity which you can cultivate to generate merits. And this sutta, the Velama Sutta, Velama is the name of a person, but this sutta is about the scale of good deeds. That means different kinds of deeds generate certain degree of merits. Which one is higher or more merits than the other? So there's a scale. Okay, so this sutta starts with the Buddha staying at Savatthi, the capital of the Kosala kingdom in Jeta Grove, or in short, Jetavana monastery. And the householder, Ananda Pindika. This Ananda Pindika is the title of this person, giver of the feeder of the poor, went up to the Buddha, bowed, and sat to one side. And the Buddha started to give a Dhamma talk. And the Buddha talked about, they give it carelessly. Notice the other sutta I shared also talk about this, must give attentively. But here is the person who gives carelessly, thoughtlessly, not with their own hand. So when you offer dana, this sutta is very specific about this. A lot of people say, "Ayah, I cannot come to Nalanda to offer dana." Never mind lah, I pay you some money, you go KFC and buy the thing, and you offer dana to the monk on my behalf. You will get some from benefits from that, but not as much as if you were to go and do it yourself. Go and offer with your own hand. Okay, that's the thing to emphasize. And the sutta continues. They give the dregs. Dregs is something when we scoop something from the pot after we have cooked. Almost most of it has been given out to other people. Whatever left at the bottom is whatever balance, what they call not so good quality. Okay, so dregs is something left over, and they give without consideration for consequences. They don't care. They simply just want to give. Then, wherever the result of any such gift manifests, their mind doesn't incline toward enjoyment of nice food, clothes, vehicles, all of the 5 refined kinds of sensual stimulation. And their children, wives, bond servants, employees, and workers don't want to listen to them. They don't pay attention or try to understand. So all this comes out from a person gives, but gives carelessly, thoughtlessly, not with their own hand. So this is the result. And as usual, in suttas, the Buddha gives the negative ones implications first, then he will talk about the positive implications. If they give it carefully, thoughtfully, with their own hand, and they don't give the dregs, and they give it consideration for consequences, then wherever the result of any such gift manifests, their mind inclines towards enjoyment of nice food, clothes, vehicles, and so on. And their children, wives, bond servants, employees, and workers want to listen. They pay attention and try to understand. And why is that? Because that is the result of deeds done carefully, okay, and thoughtfully, and with their own hand. So how you give and with the mindset also affects the what you call energies that come back. And of course, the bottom portion here, the sutta continues talking about a Brahmin called Velama. That's why the sutta is named under Velama. And this, what they call Brahmin, was very, very rich, something like a billionaire. He was able to give 84,000 gold bowls filled with silver, 84,000 silver bowls filled with gold, 84,000 bronze bowls filled with gold. And towards the end of this particular extract, notice I put dot, dot, dot. A lot of other 84,000, 84,000, 84,000. A very, what they call, favorite number of Indian society in those days. Now, everything seems to be, and it's not peculiar to Buddhism. I checked a few other ancient Indian articles also. They still like 84,000. I haven't tracked down the story behind it, why they like 84,000. But it just means a lot, a lot. So, householder, I myself was the Brahmin Velama. So the Buddha was recalling his past births, this Brahmin Velama at that time. I gave that gift, a great offering. But at that event, there was no one worthy of a religious donation and no one to purify the religious donation. So clearly, this giving so great, 84,000 and so many items, is called a Mahadana, a great giving, a great dana. Number 2, the Buddha says, what is even better than giving all this? It would be more fruitful to feed one person accomplished in view than that giving offering of Velama. And number 3, it would be more fruitful to feed one once returner than 100 persons accomplished in right view. And 4, it will be more fruitful to feed one non-returner than 100 once returners. And it continues. Number 5, more fruitful to feed one perfected one than 100 non-returners. A perfected one is an arahat. And number 6, it will be more fruitful to feed one Buddha awakened for themselves. Means a Pachika Buddha, what some people call the silent Buddha, than to feed 100 arahats. So you notice it goes higher and higher and higher. The coming energies generated for each of these activities is higher than the previous kind of gift. Now, we keep talking about what they call once returners, never returners, arahats. What are they? This is a quick revision. We have covered this before. Well, all of us are stuck in this cycle of birth and death. Why are we stuck? Because we are tied to it. We have fetters. And there are 10 fetters, sangyojana, which the Buddha describes, tied to the cycle of wheel of birth and death called samsara. In this world, there are, as far as the Buddha is concerned, we divide into two categories of people: putujana, or worldlings, and aryas, the noble ones. And what is a putujana? One of the manifold, a worldling, run-of-the-mill person. We are not considering people's IQ, whether they're smart, stupid, or whatever, can get admission to Harvard University or not. We don't care about that. We care about whether an ordinary person who has not realized any of the 4 stages of awakening. I will cover that in greater detail in the next slide. But Aryas are noble, distinguished people, one who has attained higher knowledge. Now, interestingly, those who have transformed themselves from putujana, or ordinary worldling, to become an Arya, a noble person, it is a one-way traffic. When you transform yourself from putujana to Arya, there is no sliding back. There's no such thing as an Arya, I forgot how to be a good person, so I slide backwards to become a putujana. There's no sliding back. You go forward. And as Arya, there are different levels or categories of Aryas. Some Aryas have eliminated, got rid of more fetters than others. So you go up the ladder. And ultimately, the ultimate Arya is that of an Arahat. Arahat has uprooted all 10 fetters, all defilements, all these 10 fetters that tie us to samsara, or the wheel of birth and death. When you have uprooted all 10, the moment you accomplish that, that life is your last birth. You are no more you have no chance of being reborn again in samsara. You've ended all that. That is called the attainment of the deathless. And what are these 10 fetters? And the sutta earlier was referring to the what they call once returner, never returner, and so many. Well, we start with the basic one. If you have uprooted, and the key word I use is uprooted. We are not cutting grass, we're not trimming grass. We want to pull out the grass with all that plant, the weed with all its roots, so that particular spot, when you did that weeding, that plant, no plant can ever grow at that spot ever again. So that is one time gaudim, uproot. So if you have uprooted the first 3 fetters, that of Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikicca, and Silabata Paramasa, that of personality belief, skeptical doubt, and clinging to mere rules and rituals, or rites and rituals, then with this uprooting, you attain what we call Sotapatti, or you become a Sotapanna. You become the first stream winner, or some books use the first stage of sainthood. Okay, this is the first. Now, there are certain characteristics. Now, just let me clarify one particular area. The Buddha often says that you have a right to doubt in the Kalama Sutta. This is different from Vicikicca. Now, the Buddha says when you have doubt, when people have doubt, what do? They try to find out what's the answer. And they listen to the answer. If it's reasonable, they meditate on it, they contemplate on it, and if it makes sense, it is logical, rational, then they accept it. That is called a reasonable person who has doubt, who has clarified the doubt and got rid of doubt. But a person who has Vicikicca is a person who, after people have given you the evidence, explained to you all those ways, you still want to maintain your own ideas. You don't care what the other people says. That you have skeptical doubt. So this is what I call a very degil person. Whatever reason, whatever things reasonable, also they don't want to listen. So they have skeptical doubt. They live in their own world. Definitely very, very deluded. Now, when you have uprooted this, there are certain characteristics of a person who has attained this first stage of stream reading, or sotapan. Number 1, if the person were to pass away, that person can never be reborn in planes of existence lower than the human realm. Okay, human realm is number 5 from the bottom. out of 31 planes existence. Not very high, human race. Okay, so we are number 5 from the bottom. So 4, 3, 2, 1 can never disqualified from being born there. Whatever karmic energies, unwholesome karmic energies they may have done in previous lives and so on, that is called, shall we say, wiped out their record. They have no opportunity to be born. Impossible. Number 2 is for a Sotapan, if they are very, very hardworking, they continue on striving, they will very likely gain enlightenment in that very life. But for those who are very slow, the Buddha uses the word negligent. That means some Sotapans are a little bit lazy from the Buddha's point of view. Even if he takes his time to cultivate, he will still attain, become an Arahat and uproot all 10 defilements. But at most 7 more lifetimes. There is no number 8 lifetime. Now, the number of lifetimes, 7 lifetimes, compared to what we have endured in samsara, we have uncountable number of lifetimes, not by 10,000 or what, billions and billions, because this is not the only universe. Okay, we have. So we have been existing. We are very, very old in this cycle of birth and death, repeated cycle of birth and death. So 7 more births is peanuts, nothing more. Okay, the major work of become a Sotapan has been done. You have already definitely pushed yourself well. What you call the final goal is within reach already. Now, here I move quickly. Second stage of stream reading, Sakadagami. That is called when a person weakens kamaraga or sensuous craving and ill will, vyapada, weakens it. Has not uprooted it, but weakens it. And a person who has uprooted kamaraga and vyapada attains anagami, the third stage of sainthood. Now, up to this stage, up to anagami, you notice they have already uprooted 5 of the fetters. These 5 fetters, very commonly you find in other suttas. The Buddha refers to these 5 as the 5 lower fetters. Okay, and the balance, if you uproot the balance in the bottom 5, you attain the 4th stage streaming, 4th stage of stream meaning or arahat. And the balance 5 are rupa raga, arupa raga, mana, udacha, and avijja. The last one right at the bottom, avijja, meaning ignorance, is very important. Once you do not have ignorance in your psychic, you are disqualified from being reborn. As long as you have avijja within you, regardless of whatever kinds of karma, good karma, bad karma, we don't care. No avijja, no rebirth. So the goal of getting out of samsara is to get rid of avijja. Okay, and notice you attain 1st stage of sainthood, 2nd stage, 3rd stage. Those Aryas can still be reborn. Okay, but Arahat cannot be reborn. The Buddha is also regarded as an Arahat. Why? He has also uprooted the 10 fetters and he is disqualified from being reborn. Okay, so these are the 10 fetters. And the Velama Sutta continues. It talks about it is more fruitful to feed one realized one, a perfected one, a Samma Sambuddha, than 100 Pachika Buddhas. And number 8, it will be more fruitful to feed the mendicant Sangha headed by the Buddha. Something what we commonly call nowadays the Maha Sankika Dana, the great Dana, with the Buddha as a head and the Sangha. So this is even more meritorious than feeding one Samma Sambuddha. And number 9, more fruitful to build a dwelling, a vihara, especially for the Sangha of the 4 quarters, than to feed the Sangha headed by the Buddha. Now, a vihara is not a stupa. A vihara is a place for people to stay. In this case, a vihara is for practicing monastics to stay and to practice. Why is a vihara, a dwelling, important? Because it protects them from the elements. During the time of the Buddha, many of them stay under trees and so on. So they are not, they are affected by the elements, strong wind, the rain, the heat. They're also bitten by animals. Some of them die during the practice also because snakes and so on. But if you build a vihara, it helps these practicing monastics to practice more comfortably, and they can reach their goal faster. So this is supporting the Sangha. So building a dwelling is very fruitful, more fruitful than offering a great dana to the Sangha headed by the Buddha. And number 10, more fruitful to go for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident heart. A lot of people go for refuge. Just go to the ceremony. There is no confident heart. So this is not counted at that kind. But going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha with a confident heart. But to have a confident heart, you must know what does Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha stand for. What does it talk about? So people who don't know what is Buddhism simply go for the ceremony of going for refuge, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. You think you have fulfilled this? Answer is no. Because you have gone simply because the crowd pushes you to go. Right? Not with a confident heart, without understanding what is going on. Okay, this is very important. Number 11, better than going for the 3 refuges with a confident heart is to undertake the training rules. What are they? The 5 precepts, essentially. That of Panatipata, Adina Dana, Kamisu Micha, Musavada, and avoidance of Sura, Mirya, Majja, Pamadatana, Veramani. So, taking and undertaking the training rules, which is Sikkhapada, is more meritorious than just mere going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident heart. And number 12, more fruitful than undertaking the 5 precepts is that to develop a heart of love. The Pali word is metta cittang, heart of love, or shall we say a mind of heart, a mind of love, loving kindness. So this is called meditation also. This one requires meditation. And number 13, more fruitful is to develop the perception of impermanence, anicca sanya, even for finger snap, then to develop the heart of loving kindness. Now, this is called insight meditation. So number 12 is meditation, but that of samatha. Number 13 is that of what I call insight. Okay. So these are the different levels. So number 12 and number 13 is right at the top, where you generate a lot of wholesome calming energies. This simple table just lists the different categories. Notice that the act of giving food, feeding the Sangha, is number 1 to number 8 only. That is of giving food to feed different categories of worthy persons. Number 9 is building a vihara. Number 10 is going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident heart. Number 11, undertaking the training rules, essentially the 5 precepts. Number 12, meditating and developing loving kindness. Number 13, develop the perception of impermanence, that is insight meditation. So you can see dana, sila, bhavana exhibited here. Bhavana earns the highest amount of merits. So don't think that just giving dana alone is cukup. Okay, you have a lot more opportunities. Now, acts of merit, there are yet other suttas. In this extract from Iti Vuttaka number 22, monks, don't be afraid of acts of merit. Now, the Buddha was not advising lay people, even he asked monks to also perform merits. This is another way of saying that what is blissful, desirable, pleasing, endearing, charming, that is acts of merit. So this sentence which I underline clearly says, acts of merit gives us a blissful life, experiences which are desirable, pleasing, endearing, and charming. So merit is very useful, and it will, when you do wholesome things, acts of merit are wholesome things, we will rejoice because we have very, very pleasant lives. And the Buddha continues, I am cognizant that having long performed meritorious deeds, I long experience desirable, pleasing, endearing, charming results. Having developed a mind of goodwill for goodwill is loving kindness meditation. For what? Well, having developed a mind of goodwill for 7 years, then for 7 aeons of contracting and expansion, I didn't return to this world. Because when you develop a mind of goodwill, you are disqualified from human birth because you're overqualified. When you get rebirth, you go towards the Brahma realms, very, very high up. Okay. Way above the normal Deva realms, Tavatimsa to Sita, that's what Kacang Putih. You go above them. Okay, loving kindness meditation. Now, what did the Buddha talk about? Aeons of contraction and expansion. And then the next sentence, whenever the aeon was contracting, I went to the realm of streaming radiance. If you're wondering where is it, plane of existence number 17. Okay, very high up. We are number 5 from the bottom. This is 17 from the bottom. So way, way, way higher. This is definitely the Brahma realms. And then the sentence continues. Whenever the aeon was expanding. So what is the Buddha talking about? And you notice the picture I showed you. And the notes at the right hand, the Big Bang. Now, this has nothing to do with Buddhism. We have gone over the topic of cosmology related to what the astronomers have discovered. Now, when the Buddha said this was 2,600 years ago. There were no telescopes in India at that time. I forgot when was the first telescope invented by Galileo Galilei, made, but definitely more recent. Now, the Big Bang, so what the Buddha said talks about aeons of contraction and expansion, was not verifiable for many, many years. Even in the 20th century, it was basically not verifiable until around the year 1930. Okay, quite recent, 1930, where Dr. Hubble, the Hubble telescope, named after him, Dr. Hubble and many of his fellow astronomers in the US with their most powerful telescopes looking up in the sky, they were taking a lot of photographs. And his team found out that the many dots there, they're not stars. He was looking so far into the cosmos that the dots on his photographic plate were that of galaxies. Then he found there were so many galaxies. And then he take time lapse, take one photograph and then do it after months and take another photograph. Then he was able to find out, how come this galaxy changed position? The conclusion today they know is that galaxies move with respect to each other. And he found out that the galaxies were moving away from each other at a certain speed. They have a certain speed. They can calculate the speed, and is available in all these cosmology notes in the internet. And soon after that, when they discover this, if they are moving away from each other, if you go back in time, all the galaxies will come to a dot, will come to a certain starting point. And that starting point, in this extract, which I just did, I think yesterday or the day before, from Science Times and many educational sites on this aspect, called the Big Bang, starts with the aspect of the most widely accepted model of the universe today. They show how it emerged from a point of origin known as a singularity, roughly 13.8 billion years ago, when it began to expand out of a dense bit of time and space. So this idea is no more called a hypothesis, which is some people come up with the idea, yet to be proven correct. Now it's called the Big Bang Theory. Theory, well, it means there is ample amount of evidence, astronomical evidence, that proves that this idea that starts from a single point, a massive explosion that sort of, in a way, created the universe. Universe is not a big room where this explosion happened and then the galaxies stream away from that point and fill up the universe. It's not like that. That concept is wrong. The concept is that when the big explosion happened, the universe was created, and the boundaries of the universe keep expanding, get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's not the explosion that fill up the universe, but the explosion created the universe, and the boundaries of the universe keep expanding, and it's still expanding today. As you know, explosions have echoes, the wavefront, and this wavefront has been measured. Okay, they can still hear the rumblings of the explosion from 13.8 billion years ago. It's still happening. So the Milky Way, the galaxy that we are in now, compared to our nearest galaxy, are moving away from each other. You didn't expect to learn cosmology, basic cosmology in Dharma class. Now, this is talking about the aeon that is expanding. So I extract. Now, this particular sutta and a number of other suttas, the Buddha says, whenever the aeon was contracting, now astronomers today, present time, have never seen a universe that contracts. But the Buddha is talking about it in the sutta. The Buddha talk about the aeon expanding that we are seeing. It's well documented. And then comes to another, not theory, but hypothesis. Hypothesis in the scientific world means an idea proposed with some proof, but yet it is still debated as to whether this idea is 100% correct or partially correct, need some modification, need adjustment and all that. Slowly it may or may not become a theory or may be thrown out completely. And this hypothesis is called the big bounce. Now, you see two big balloons, something tied in the center there. On the right-hand side, that is the purple portion. That is the Big Bang. The position where there's tight, very narrow, that is called the singularity explosion, where the Big Bang occurred and expands towards the right in the purple sense. The one on the left, the blue one, is that of an earlier universe contracting and coming towards the center. That means becoming a singularity. So the old universe contracted until all the galaxies will bang into each other until it becomes a singularity and it will come out again. So big bounce is called something like an accordion. So you speed up time, it becomes big, it becomes small, it becomes big and small. So if this sutta alone and yet a few other suttas answers the question, is there a beginning? Answer is no. It goes big, small, big, small. So universe keep on. We're not talking about multiverse yet, We're talking about this one universe. Whether the idea of multiverse is scientifically proven or not, or still is a hypothesis, that one is another question mark. Here, I'm only addressing the questions raised from this sutta, talking about expanding and contracting universe. Okay, so the comment here about the big bounce, that some cosmologists believe that the universe is part of a long series of births and deaths and rebirths, one without a beginning nor an end. Instead, a big bang. Experts believe in the big bounce hypothesis. Still be debated. Around the year 2016, it came out from mathematical models from from London and in cooperation with a university in Canada. And they're still being debated among them. Some disagree, some agree, and all that. And they've adjusted this big bounce model. Okay, enough of that. Now, the sutta continues. Whenever the aeon is expanding, and the bottom right, I should remind you, is the aspect of the Big Bang. Now, the Buddha, he was reborn. I reappeared in an empty Brahma abode. There I was the great Brahman. Great Brahman, in other words, Maha Brahma. Brahma is not very high up the 31 place existence, somewhere around number 12 or 13. Okay, somewhere in the center, even below the number 17, the Abhasara, which I showed you earlier. So, the unconquered conqueror, all-seeing, wielding of power. Then for 36 times, I was Saka, ruler of the gods. For many hundreds of times, I was a king, a wheel-turning emperor or monarch, a righteous king of Dhamma, conqueror of the four corners of the earth, maintaining stable control over the countryside, endowed with the 7 treasures. What are these 7 treasures? I have a footnote at the bottom. To say nothing of the times I was a local king. The thought occurred to me, of what action of mine is this the fruit? Of what action the fruit? The result, that I now have such great power and might. Then the thought occurred to him. This is the fruit of my 3 types of action, the result of 3 types of action which I now have such great power and might. That is of giving, dana, giving, self-control and restraint. Now, train in acts of merit that bring long-lasting bliss. Develop giving, a life in tune, a mind of goodwill. So developing these three things that bring about bliss, the wise reappear in the world of bliss unalloyed. So here we have aspects of giving, and Velama Sutta talks about different kinds of giving. So they are very, very fruitful, bring you to very, very high up in the planes of existence. But anywhere in the planes of existence, however high, you are born, you live a life, you pass away. You are still in samsara, cycle about that. So we have been around all over the place. So back to this. Dhammapada verse number 18. Itta nandati, pecha nandati, papakari, ubayata nandati. Papang me katanti nandati. Dio nandati sugating gato. The doer of good delights here and hereafter. He delights in both the worlds. The thought, good have I done, delights him. And he delights even more when gone to realms of bliss, means gone to planes of higher existence. So when you do good, you get a lot of benefits. Now, here an extract from the famous Mangala Sutta. Now, this sutta is interesting. Many suttas are the result of ordinary people or the monks asking the Buddha question. Or sometimes the Buddha will come into a group and say, hey, what are you monks talking about? Then the monks will share with the Buddha, they were discussing something. And then the Buddha will come in and clarify their doubts and so on from the discussion. This one is very odd. The Sutta on Blessing, or Mangala Sutta, the question did not come from a human being. It came from a deva, a deity. And so the Sutta says, so I have heard at one time the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Groves, Ananda Pindika's monastery. Then late at night, a glorious deity, a deva, lighting up the entire Jeta's Grove, went up to the Buddha, bowed and stood to one side. By the way, glorious deity, lighting up the entire Jeta Grove. For translators, they're trying to translate the word deva to mean God, small God, is very problematical because the word small God doesn't exist in the Pali world. So, and when you use another language to try to equate, you bring in other ideas from another philosophy. English language is influenced by another religion. They have their peculiar ideas. But here, the word deva literally means the shining one. Shining one, very bright. So when the deva appears in the middle of the night, literally it lights up the entire Jeta Grove, the luminous one. So devas are luminous. Now, going fast forward to some of the relevant passages, the Mangala Sutta itself lists out 38 blessings. Chinese will be called Ong, all things good that we want. 38. Here I give you some extract. Living in a suitable region, having made merit in the past. So if we have made merit in the past, our life currently will be a blessing because the merits express themselves, give the results in this life, and we will have a pleasant life. Okay, not so much suffering. So having made merit in the past is a blessing for us. Being rightly resolved in oneself, this is the highest blessing. Moving on, education and a craft, discipline and training. So we have to discipline ourselves and to learn a craft to support ourselves and so on. And well-spoken speech. This is also meritorious. Well-spoken speech. Why? Because people like to listen to us. And this is the highest blessing. Caring for mother and father. Kindness to children and partners. Partners means your wife and so on. And unstressful work. This is the highest blessing. And on the right side, giving and righteous conduct. Kindness to relatives. Blameless deeds. This is the highest blessing. Desisting and abstaining from evil. Avoiding alcoholic drinks. Diligence in good qualities. This is the highest blessing. So respect and humility, contentment and gratitude, and timely listening to the teaching. This is the highest blessing. So here I only share with you an extract of some of the 38 blessings contained in this sutta. And here already talking about all the, the amount of rejoicing we can obtain when we have done wholesome merits in the past life, as well as doing in this life also. Now, this sutta called the Saliyaka Sutta, meaning the Brahmans of Sala. Sala is a kampung Sala, from the Majjhima Nikaya Sutta number 41. Now, this sutta is interesting. Very often you hear many suttas talking about perform merits and you have a good future birth. But this sutta puts a twist to that aspect of it. It tells you what not to do, what to do, and it has certain implications because of those actions. Okay, fine-tuned as to doing of good, but what kind of rejoicing you can obtain. Okay, so at one time, the Buddha was wandering in the land of the Kosalans together with a large sangha of mendicants. Then he arrived at the village of the Kosalan Brahmins called named Sala. Then the Brahmins and householders of Sala went up to the Buddha. But before this, they heard the Buddha coming. Who is the Buddha? They do some investigation as to who is this person. They have not come across the Buddha before. So they found out. That's why I put ... The sutta talks about their inquiry. Oh, he was formerly a Sakyan prince. He has renounced the world and do a lot of things. So I fast forward. Seated to one side, they said to the Buddha, what is the cause, Master Gotama? What is the reason why some sentient beings, when their body breaks up after death, are reborn in a place of loss, a bad place, the underworld, or even hell? In a way, describing your destiny. Why are there poor destiny? And what is the cause, Master Gotama? What is the reason why some sentient beings, when their body breaks up after death, are reborn in a good place, a heavenly realm? So not everyone has the opportunity to go to heaven. Some go to hell. And then the Buddha goes in and answers those questions. Householders, unprincipled and immoral conduct is threefold by way of body, fourfold by way of speech, threefold by way of mind. Notice 3, 4, 3. 3 of body, 4 of speech, and 3 of mind. You add up 3, 4, 3 becomes 10. So in a way, these are the 10 demeritorious deeds. 3 things we should do that cause you to, on passing away, go to a bad place, the underworld, to hell. And to quickly summarize, so actions not in accordance with Dhamma, unrighteous conduct, 3, 4, 3. And what is the list? Killer of living beings, taker of what is not given, misconduct in sexual desires. That is the 3 of action by body. And 4 by speech, speaks falsehood, speaks maliciously, speaks harshly, is a gossiper. So these are the 4. And 3 of mind is covetous, means very, very, very greedy. Has a mind of ill will, has wrong view. Okay, so these together 10 are 10 demeritorious actions that you should avoid. Otherwise, you bring yourself to the unfortunate, unpleasant worlds or even to hell. And the bottom portion, householders, principle and moral conduct is threefold by body, fourfold by speech, and threefold by way of mind. And this page summarizes. Okay, actions in accordance with Dhamma, righteous conduct. And basically, these are abandoning and abstaining from the bad things which I listed earlier. So, in a way, these are 10 meritorious actions. Now, some of you have gone for Buddhist courses and you want 10 meritorious, isn't the list different? That's true. But the other list is not, there is no one particular sutta that lists that list of 10. But this one is listed here in a sutta. Okay. Now, the implications of this, I go straight to the belakang portion. A person of principle and moral conduct might wish means it's an aspiration. I hope. If only when my body breaks up after death, I would be reborn in the company of well-to-do aristocrats. That means come back to the human realm. I want to be born in the rich families. Then the Buddha says, it's possible that this might happen. Why is that? Because they have principle and moral conduct. This is the role of aspiration. But aspiration supported by principle and moral conduct means you have to do a lot of meritorious actions to get your wish fulfilled. And the sutta continues. You notice a long list. A person of principle and moral conduct might wish, if only when my body breaks up after death, I would be reborn in the company of well-to-do Brahmins or well-to-do householders. Now that is all within the human realm. Then it goes beyond. That you wish to be born among the gods of the 4 great kings or the gods of the 33. And notice the font gets smaller because there are too many. Or it means you do a lot of wholesome things. You got a chance to hope that you can be reborn in those things that you're aiming for. So, and the Buddha in all this say it's possible that this might happen. Why is that? Because they have principle and moral conduct. Now, all those earlier iterations are talking about people who pass away after death and that they wish to be born. But what about in this very life? And the last iteration is very important, and it affects your walking for people who walk the path, the Noble Eightfold Path towards enlightenment. A person of principle and moral conduct might wish, if only I might realize the undefiled freedom of heart. Okay, freedom of heart is ceto vimutti. Freedom by wisdom, panya vimutti. In this very life, not next time. I die already. It's called in this very life. I've been performing a lot of wholesome things that I want to gain enlightenment and live, having realized it with my own insight, due to the ending of defilements. Okay, no more asavas. And the Buddha says, it's possible that this might happen. And why is that? Because they have principle and moral conduct. Which means to say that those walking who are practicing, aiming for nibbana, for enlightenment, to become an arahat, you need to be supported by wholesome karmic energies. You need to perform a lot of wholesome energies. Of course, these wholesome meritorious actions also support you in your wish if you want to born in this plane or that plane and certain circumstances. But more importantly, for serious practitioners of the Dhamma, that you want to gain enlightenment in this very lifetime. And this here talks about meritorious action supporting that wish. And of course, you must also don't just wish, but you still have to do the work. But it is supportive, and that in this life, the Buddha says it is possible for you to gain enlightenment in this very life, getting rid of all the 10 defilements in this very life. Now, this particular sutta is very interesting. Nidhi Kanda, translated the reserve fund. A reserve fund is what we call when you go out and work, you earn money. Some of us buy insurance to safeguard our homes, our income, and there are many kinds of insurance. We also put some money in our fixed deposits. We also buy what they call unit trusts and many instruments to have a reserve fund. Okay, safeguard ourselves. Here, the sutta starts interestingly. A person stashes a fund away deep underground at the waterline. When a need or duty arises, this will provide for my needs, for my release. If I'm denounced by the king, molested by thieves, in case of death, famine, or accidents. With aims like this in this world, a reserve fund is stashed away. This is very conventional. Of course, in those days, they don't have unit trust and all that, not so sophisticated instruments. So they hide their money literally. Some people today, you use the word term, put the money under your pillow. Of course, this one is called hide in the waterline, underground, bury somewhere and all that. So, but no matter how well it's stored deep underground at the waterline, it won't always serve one's need. The fund gets shifted from its place, or one's memory gets confused. You forgot where you buried charm like that. Okay. Or unseen, water serpents make off with it, spirits steal it, or hateful airs run off with it. So when one marriage ended, it's totally destroyed. But when a man or woman has laid aside a well-stored fund of giving, of dana, of virtue, of sila, restraint and self-control, with regard to a shrine, okay, building shrines, maintaining a shrine, offering to the sangha, a fine individual, guests, mother, father, or elder sibling. That's a well-stored fund. It cannot be wrested away. It follows you along. And having left this world, for wherever you must go, you take it with you. So money, you cannot take it with you when you pass away, but it is those actions, good actions of giving, virtue, restraint, and self-control that you have done. You will pass away. This so-called reserve fund follows you. So this fund is not held in common with others and cannot be stolen by thieves. So prudent, you should make merit the fund that will follow you along. Now this is the fund that gives all they want to beings human and divine. So that means this fund, this karmic fund, this meritorious fund, gives all that you want, whether you're a human being or a deva, higher planes. Whatever devas aspire to, all that is gained by this. A fine complexion, fine voice, a body well built, well formed, lordship, a following, all that is gained by this. So here indirectly is telling you, karma affects how pretty you are, how handsome you are, whether you can sing or not, or croak, or whatever. When you look like, what they call, the He-Man of the universe, a body well built and well formed, or whether you command a leadership among other people, like becoming a prime minister. Some people fighting to become prime minister, almost cannot. Suddenly got chance. Oh, good. So karma must have ripened, given the opportunity. Karma also blocks you from attaining positions of power. So all kinds of things. So actions determine that. So earthly kingship, supremacy, the bliss of an emperor, kingship over devas in the heavens. So you can be a king of devas. All that is gained by this. The attainment of the human state, any delight in heaven, the attainment of the unbinding. Unbinding means enlightenment. It means attainment of enlightenment. All that is gained by this. So enlightenment is also governed by meritorious actions. So excellent friends, appropriate application, mastery of clear knowing and release. All that is gained by this. Acumen, emancipations, the perfection of disciplehood. All that is gained by this. Private awakening means Pachika Buddha or Buddhahood. All that is gained by this. And the concluding statement is very important. So powerful is this, the accomplishment of merit. Thus the wise, the prudent, praise the fund of merit already made. So don't shy away from making merits. And of course, we keep talking about births and this plane, that plane, and all this kind of thing. So we're talking about repeated birth, the cycle of birth and death. And what is this birth and so on? Now, here, this page, we talk about the 31 planes of existence discovered by the Buddha underneath the Bodhi tree. And I talk about the unfortunate planes, the bad worlds or hells. Number one, hells, and there are different subdivisions of those hells, but they are all classified under hells. Number two, animal world, Tirachana. Number three, Peta worlds. Often we use the term hungry ghosts. And number four, Asuras, the demons. These are all unfortunate, a lot of suffering there. Of course, heavily populated also lah. Notice number five, humans. That's where we are. Number five, from the bottom, not very high. And above us, number six, the four great kings, Chatu Maharajika. Example is the picture on the right, top right. The four great kings. In Chinese civilization, we have this. And number seven, Tavatimsa. We often hear about it in many stories, in Buddhist stories, the heaven of the 33. Number eight, the heaven of the Yamadevas, not often heard of. Number nine, heaven of delight, Tusita. Tusita heaven we have heard because classic example is that of Prince Siddhartha's mother, Queen Mahamaya. She passed away 7 days after giving birth. She was born in Tusita as a Tucita Deva, number 9. But then you heard, how come people say the Buddha went to Tavatimsa to teach Abhidhamma? How come? The mother was born in Tucita. But from Tucita was so powerful, she can come down to Tavatimsa and listen to the former son teach the Abhidhamma. Okay. Number 10 and number 11, not often heard of. And bottom right, number 12, 13, and 14, great Brahma, Maha Brahma. The Brahma who thought he was creator God. He thought he was capital G-O-D. But he's only somewhere around 12, 13, 14. Not very high. Not very powerful also actually. But because of delusion, he thought he was God. But the bottom right box requires that you have meditative experience. Not just gone for meditation, but you must have at least attained the first jhana, a certain degree of deep concentration. And those who have attained the second jhana, okay, then 15 to 17, third jhana, 18 to 20, and fourth jhana, 21 to 22. Now, 23 to number 27 is interesting. These are known as the pure abodes. These are reserved for those who have attained the third stage of sainthood or stream meaning called anagamis. They are disqualified from lower planes of existence because they are so pure. So they are born there, they live a life, and they will stay there until they attain arahatship. Okay, those are 23 to 27. Number 28 to 31 are those in the arupa lopa. Arupa means don't have bodies, they are formless. Examples of people who are born there, ascetic Gautama's first two teachers, Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputta. They were so capable at meditating. They meditated up to the the third arupa base or the fourth arupa base. Some people call it the 7 and 8 jhanas. But technically they are not jhanas, they are bases. Okay. But because they are so capable, they meditate. On passing away, they go straight there. Lifespan as you go up to number 31 is super long. Okay. But this is still samsara. Okay, very short life at number 1 or super long at number 31. You're born, you live a life, you pass away, and you go around again and again. In the infinity of time, we probably have to into all of these. Okay, but now we are humans. So next life, where we will be depends on our actions and whether we cultivate or not. In the case of the arahats, the Buddha and all the enlightened disciples, they are beyond the 31 place existence. That means they disqualify themselves from being reborn because they've got rid of avijja, no more ignorance. So that life becomes their last life. And so questions like, where are they born? Doesn't apply. Okay, so they're no more in 31 planes of existence. So having abandoned bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct of mind, and whatever else is flawed, not having done what is not skillful, and having done much that is skillful, at the break of the body, the seeing one reappears in heaven. So anybody asks you a question, do you want to go to heaven? A Buddhist answer should be, which one? Or some people try to frighten you. You will go to hell because you are not following the fellow's religion. Then you say, which one? Okay? So be mischievous, go and chuchuk people. That's what I do. Okay, so a wise person, seeing his own good, steadfast, secures confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Confidence here, saddha. One who practices the Dhamma in thought, word, and deed, receives praise here on earth because everybody around can see how you behave, whether you're a good person or you're, some people say, so yeah lah. Okay. Or after death, rejoices in heaven. That one nobody can see except the Buddhas, but you will know lah because you've done a lot of wholesome deeds and you are disqualified from human birth. You go straight up to heaven. You enjoy yourself there. So here in Dhammapada verse number 16, Itta modati, pecha modati, kata punyo, ubayata modati, so modati, so pa modati, disva kamma visuddhi matano. The doer of good rejoices here and hereafter. He rejoices in both the worlds. He rejoices and exalts, recollecting his own pure deeds. So when you do wholesome things in this life, the balance of this life, when you recall what you have done, in this occasion, that occasion, however long ago, you feel happy, you rejoice, and you delight over what you have done. That's talking about here and now in this life. What happens next? There's another story lah. But you still enjoy yourself because you have laid the foundation for rejoicing in afterlife. So this page summarizes the central teachings of the Buddha in Dhammapada verse 183. Sabba papasa akaranang kusalasa upasampada sachita paridapanang etang buddhana sasanam. That we should avoid all evil. We should do good, purifying your minds. This is the teaching of the Buddha. So if ever you're wondering, the Buddha taught so much, I listened to so many Dhamma talks, so many ideas come up. How do I share it with my family, my friends, and so on? Or people ask you, or just to remind yourself, this one, simple. It's simple that it summarizes all the teachings of the Buddha. It's simple enough to remind you, give you the outline as to what you need to do in your life every day, that you should avoid evil. First thing, don't talk about the Salaya Kasu with the 10 things, so many. 5 precepts, cukup. Very good already. Avoid evil. Practice the 5 precepts. You can do more, better still. Do good, the opposite of the 5 precepts, ennoblers, the meritorious actions. Purify your mind. Develop thoughts of loving kindness. Go into insight meditation, and so on. Okay, this is the teaching of the Buddhas. So with that, Sat Dhammo Cirang Titatu. May the good doctrine long endure. Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu. May all beings be happy.